guys, I want to talk to you guys today and tell you a little bit about my story. I realize that you've heard kind of the, hey, now I'm engaged, like, woohoo, and everyone's like, I didn't even know you had a boyfriend. So I want to give you a little bit about my story because I feel like there might be people who are feeling discouraged, maybe a little bit hopeless, and I want to encourage you that things can literally change in a day when it comes to who God has for you. And that's literally what happened with me. And so I want to take you back. I received a prophetic word, which I'm really excited to share with you. But even before that, I want to take you back in my story to the beginning of 2019. I was considering getting into a relationship with someone, and they were in Canada. I was in Australia. I had known them through a school of ministry, and it didn't work out, long story short. And I'd been fasting and praying, and I really was like, this person literally on the last day of my fast, like, contacted me. I was fasting and praying for a husband for 6 months. Oh, well, for 21 days, but I'd been, like, praying for 6 months. God told me not to date. So I was like, this is the person. And it wasn't. And so, I remember still laying on my floor, and I looked up into the ceiling, and this is how God works, guys. And I believe that the Lord is speaking to you really clearly right now. And giving you promises, because the Lord gave me something that day to hold on to. And I remember I was laying on my floor and I was looking up into the ceiling, and I suddenly saw 2 swans coming together. You know how they do this thing where their head comes together? And a little bit about me, I'm like super afraid of birds, really like deathly afraid of birds. And so I don't like them. It's not something that I would ever think of on my own. And so I was like, oh, this is interesting. And I opened my I saw them in my mind's eye, and then I opened my eyes and I saw them on the ceiling. And I was like, Lord, what is this? And I looked it up, and I just started learning about swans, and the Lord started speaking to me about them, because the way that they mate and the way that they find one another, and they have this dance where they seem kind of hostile towards one another. Oh, the Lord's talking to me about that just as I'm speaking. Hostile towards one another, but then they come together, and they come together in this perfect unity. And I was like, oh, okay. And I honestly thought it was about that guy. So I was like, oh, maybe I'm meant to be with this dude. God's telling me something. But I prayed, and God showed me that it wasn't about him. But guys, literally, since the beginning of 2019, even now, almost every single day I will see a swan. Some days I'll see like 5 of them. And I've held that really close to my chest. My friends, my roommates, everyone that knows me, who I'm close to, is like, cannot believe how many swans I see. Again, I would almost go as far as saying I hate birds. I've been attacked by that many of them. I do not like them. But, so I would never like look for them, but everywhere I go, swan, 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 swan. Even when I was in the American consulate coming to get my visa to be able to come for first year, I saw 5 swans that day, in pictures and the words, and like, it was just so hectic. And I really felt like God was on this season. So every time I see a swan, I take a photo. I have thousands in my phone. My friends literally can't believe it. And it's like, I'll be watching like an obscure like action movie, and there'll be like a swan in the background, like, or somebody will say something. And so the Lord, and guys, I don't think you understand the magnitude, like every day, pretty much every day. And the magnitude of that was just like, okay, God, I know something's coming. I know you've got something for me with this. What's this gonna look like though? Like, okay, you're speaking to me, great. I'm thinking it's gonna happen soon. So when I come to first year and I get into I meet someone and they start pursuing me, I think, oh, this must be the swan guy. And then really, like, about 6 months later, I'm like, actually, no, this isn't the person for me. Okay, I guess the swan thing is still, I was still seeing swans everywhere, honestly, even when we were dating. And so we broke up, and then, I come back for second year, I'm still seeing swans everywhere. And then something really pivotal happened. And this is the goodness of God, because he was speaking to me the whole time and sustaining me. So I was still like, it wasn't fun. I'm like, okay, well, who's this person going to be? And I'm still a little bit confused. But I just felt the Lord talking to me about it, that I knew, okay, he's got someone for me. I'm not sure what it's going to look like, but there's someone on the horizon. So I can trust in that and just kind of do life and see what happens. So then on October 3rd, I had Revival Group. And Dave Ward is one of my RGPs. I have Dave and Silva Kajakian. And that 2 days before, I was doing stuff with the group. I was bringing things into being. Like, I was really excited. And then all of a sudden, this hopelessness just really settled on me. And I am usually so full of hope, especially for this. I'm like, God's got an amazing person for me. This is going to be amazing. Woohoo! But yeah, I just really felt down. I was almost like crying. And I was like, what has come over me? I'm like the hope person, you know? And I was sitting there at revival group, and Dave said, I'm hearing June 27th from the Lord. Does that mean anything to anybody? And before, I wasn't even thinking. I just unmuted myself and I was like, yeah, that's my birthday. And he said, okay, I see wedding cakes. And I was like, woohoo, I received it. I got a little excited. I'm just like mucking around. And he's like, well, hang on, let me ask the Lord. And he took a moment and asked the Lord. He's like, no, I'm not going to get... And he said to Revive our RG, he's like, RG, do not do this. You do not have permission to do this. But Beck, I see that you're going to be married soon. And he releases this word over me about getting married and within the next 6 months. And I'm just weeping. Like, I never cry, but I was like wrecked. And it was just beautiful. And he said, like, I know the weight that these kind of words carry, so I don't say this lightly. And he said, you know, revival group, like, don't do this. You do not have permission to prophesy this. But he really felt the Lord on it. And that day marked me. I listened to that word so many times. And that day, I literally was like, okay, God, what can I do as a prophetic action to stand in agreement with this? And I just went shopping. I just went like into the store and I was like, I'm going to buy something that like I can look to and it's like going to give me vision. Because I literally felt like I was starting to lose vision. And I ended up buying these flute glasses that I thought were kind of cool. And I was like, wouldn't these be cool to have on my wedding day to drink out of? And I didn't even realize, but later, there actually says David on the top, which I'm assuming is Dave's real name. So that was pretty cool. That the Lord was just speaking to me through that. And I told my friends and I told my family, by the way, I'm getting married in 6 months. My mom and my grandparents are like Catholic. So for them, that was like, to who? And I was like, I don't know. It's going to be someone and it's going to be great. I don't know who to. And so then, you know, time's going by and a month goes by and nothing really happens. And I'm like, who's this person going to be? Like, it can't be somebody that I don't know. Because that's so fast, unless like we hear the audible voice of God. Surely it has to be somebody that I, you know, already have in my life and already like. And then I'm like, well, wouldn't I have noticed them already? Like, who is this person? And so then another month goes by and I'm like, okay, God, I have to get married in like 4 months time. And I don't even have a boyfriend yet. Like, not that I have to, but like, I know that you're going to do this. So like, how's this going to happen? Like, I don't understand. And so I'm resting on that word, and then one day I see my best friend Nick, who, I mean, we do everything together. I adore him as a friend, and I've never seen in any other way before. I see him helping somebody in a really beautiful way, and we've recorded our testimony, and so we're going to release that soon, and you guys will get to hear the full story. But I see him, and my heart literally catches on fire. It was kind of like, if you've ever had anxiety, I don't get anxiety often, but you know how you have that pressure? It was like that, but in an amazing way. Like, there was a tangible physical manifestation of fire on my heart as I was looking at him. And I was like, oh my gosh, I think I have feelings for him. No! And I was like freaking out in the car. When on my drive home, I was like, I felt like I wanted to kiss him. Like, I just felt so connected to him. Like, what is going on? And I was like fighting it. And yeah, long story short, I was like, oh my gosh, I have to tell him. Like, I can't just pull away, or I don't know what's happening. My heart was so sensitive and so open all of a sudden, that I was having dreams. And I eventually did say, hey, look, I'm having these feelings coming up. I don't know what they mean. I'm not sure how I feel about them. I just felt like I had to be really open with him. And he said, I'm really sorry if I gave you the wrong idea. And so I'm like, oh, he doesn't like me. So or he's not even interested, or like whatever. And so I remember saying that day, Lord, you know what? I'm over this. Like, I don't know what you're doing, but I just pray that my husband will ask me out this weekend. Like, ask me, pursue me, like whatever it is. I just pray that it will happen this weekend because I'm sick of this. And you said 6 months, and like, you know, my heart's all tender. I feel like I'm catching feelings for people. I don't know what to do. Anyway, and then literally, so that Saturday night, I have a dream about my ex-boyfriend as well, and where I see him that he's with somebody else, and I'm just so happy for him, and I just felt like God was closing all the right doors. And then that Sunday was actually when that Sunday one of our friends we were playing a game, Marry, Kiss or Kill. And I, again, like I said, my heart was really open. But after that Nick experience, there was like 2 other guys that I was like, do I like them? Like, they're really nice to me. We get along really well. Am I catching feelings? You know, I think now I know it was just residual from the Nick thing. But I was like, am I just like falling for everyone? Like, what's happening? Anyway, and so one of the guys that was over, my roommate's boyfriend, was like, hey, marry, kiss or kill, and they asked me about these 3 guys, and I just kept picking Nick to marry every time, and I was killing and kissing the other 2, and it was a silly game, but it actually really exposed where my heart was at, and I was like, oh my goodness, oh gosh, like I would love to, you know, be with him and be with my best friend, like how cool would that be? This is really showing me where my heart's at. And so that night we actually had that conversation, and you know, he was basically like, hey, I want to, you know, I would love to pursue you. And it was so funny because it had to come from me. Nick was like, I could never have approached you because you probably would have said no. And I was like, yeah, that's pretty true. So like God had to give me those feelings. God had to ignite my heart. And so I was just like, wow, that morning, the morning of Sunday, I was talking to my friends and saying like, I'm losing vision for this. Like, I don't know, you know, I received this word and I'm standing on it. And I kept going back to that word and believing for it. But I was like, I don't know how it's going to happen. And then that night, literally, we decide, okay, let's do this. Like, you know, and then, you know, we go to Lake Tahoe the weekend after, and we were like, all of a sudden we're both looking at each other and we're like, I'm thinking the whole weekend, I'm like, I love him. Like, I'm in love with him. And we come back and I know he is too. And so he says it and I'm like, yeah, I love you too. Where did this come from? Like, what? What's this acceleration? Like, we are literally on the same page every single time. And then, you know, a week after that, I'm like, just thinking, and I asked Nick where he's at, and he's like, well, I want to marry you. And I was like, yeah, that's exactly what I've been thinking about all day. You know, for the last couple of days, like, I'm ready to get married. Cool. So we're on the same page still. And so then we actually decided, okay, well, let's get married on the 19th of December. You know, holidays were coming up. We're going to have all this free time. Like, let's just do it. We really feel the Lord on it. And guys, like, we spoke to some leadership, and, they were like, it's a little bit fast, but, you know, you're free and responsible. And we're like, yes, we feel the Lord on this. The more we prayed, the more I felt like the Lord was saying, you two, because a couple of days before I had woken up and I actually heard the Lord audibly say, you two are really good together. And I was like, okay, like confirmation, just confirmation after confirmation after confirmation. I was like, I already asked that my husband would ask me out this weekend, like, and then Nick did. You know, God's closing other doors. He's saying that we're really good together. And guys, not joking, you know, we spoke to some people, and we were just like full steam ahead. In 3 days, I had planned an entire wedding. And when I say plan an entire wedding, I mean like we had a venue, we had somebody to marry us, we had tables, chairs, food, music, my bridesmaids, hair, makeup, like what else do you usually have for a wedding? The marriage certificate, the appointment to go and get that. Like, I already found somebody to film my spot in my house, and we just had to find a house for us to live in. Like, everything fell together. I even had a dress. So one of the people who were doing our premarital, basically, she was like, do you want to have a look at my dress? And she got married like a while ago, so I was like, okay, just to kind of be polite. And this dress, guys, was like my dream dress. I probably would have picked it anyway. It fit me like a glove. It was in my size. It was like tailored to my body. I'm wearing it. I'm like, this is perfect. And it even had, she even had wedges in my size because we would be on grass. So it wasn't like a heel, but wedges in my size, that were perfect for me. And I was like, oh my goodness. Like, we even had Nick's clothes sorted, like, and I just want to say as a side note, I also had to do a pitch at Pitch Breakfast for a business that I had. And so there was a lot of stuff going on, but I smashed it out and got it done. I'm nothing if not a doer. So when I say an entire wedding was planned in those 3 days, I mean an entire wedding was planned in those 3 days. However, then, and I still believe like the favor of the Lord was on it. But when I started talking to more people, and I spoke to my RGP from last year, and he is the most incredible man. I love him. And I spoke to my RGPs from this year as well. We just decided, I was like, actually, wisdom looks like waiting. And we'd already sent out invitations. Like, when I say things were done, I already had bachelorette party sorted, and all of that. But, we had to make that decision. Okay, well, leadership saying, hey, even if this is right, and we prayed, and I even was going to the house of prayer and being like, Lord, are we rushing? Like, what's happening? And I felt the Lord saying, hey, you two have work to do together. So I was like, I feel like it's the right time. But wisdom actually, it looks like submitting to leadership. And so there was just enough people that weren't comfortable that we were like, okay, you know what? Maybe it's a little embarrassing to say like, hey, like we had a Facebook Live sorted. We had a chat. We told all our friends and family to watch, like literally sorted. But I was like, I don't even care what people think. Like, that's fine. We can wait. If that's what it looks like, and even the RGPs that spoke to me never thought we would change our mind. They're like, you are so far on this course. They're like, nothing's moving this train. But again, even if you're feeling the Lord's on it, there's something about submitting to leadership and really surrendering to like, hey, I might not be the wisest person in this, and I know myself. When I get excited about something, I run full steam ahead. And you know what? As soon as we decided, okay, we're gonna wait a little bit longer to get married, there was just such peace. I mean, there was peace before because we were like, hey, we don't feel that stressed. Like, we've got it all done and it's been really easy. All the doors have opened. But now God actually has an opportunity to show up, to come through with provision, with finances, with building trust within one another. Like, there's just such a beautiful thing that's happening in this season of being engaged. And that's a better season than I've ever had dating because, we disagree, and I'm not painting a beautiful picture. Like, we bickered like an old married couple beforehand, and we definitely disagree now. Not all the time, but, we have our moments, and there's such safety in knowing neither of us is going anywhere. Like, we're committed, we're going to get married. And so, having these couple months, we're going to get married in March. I'm really feeling the Lord on that. Well, hopefully we're still going to speak to our people and be like, hey, but even the people who are doing premarital with us are like, hey, where you guys are at is nowhere near where we were at when we, had been dating for like months and months and months. You guys are tackling these big things. There's an acceleration in the spirit. And I really even felt that. I released that word in this group about August. I was like, there's an acceleration. Like, God is bringing together partnerships and Holy Spirit teams. And it was really funny because 2 weeks before Nick and I got together, one of the girls in my small group from last year actually all of a sudden had her best friend in the world from the year before. They just caught feelings and got engaged, or started dating and got engaged like a couple weeks later. And I asked her to pray for me to release that testimony, and 2 weeks later Nick and I started dating. So there's a lot and there's quite a few testimonies of best friends catching fire and becoming couples. And so look at who your friends are, because God is on this. He's bringing together people. Like, it's crazy. So anyway, we decided to wait, and we obviously cancelled things. It didn't even take that long to cancel things, to be honest. There was such a grace on it. No one was mad, no one was upset. Like, it was just really easy, and like, we turned it into an engagement party, and we had a party with our friends, and everything had happened so quickly. We got the ring, and Nick proposed, but like, it wasn't like a proper, planned out proposal. So he got to propose again. I gave him back my ring, and we went and somewhere, and he got down on one knee, and it was beautiful, and there was snow, and it was so magical. And so we got to do things really like the right way. And so now it's just fun. Now we're looking for a house to live once we get married, and and we get to dream about what our lives are going to look like when they start. We get to dream about the furniture, we get to dream about kids, we get to talk about these kinds of things, whereas if we had just gotten married, we would have missed that. And so God is on it. We're still going to get married within 6 months of that word, which is crazy hectic. And we just feel the grace on that. So please don't lose hope. Don't lose faith. Without vision, the people perish. Things can change in a day. All of a sudden, one day, you could be out in the street and somebody's like, hey, you. And that could, the rest of your life, totally different from that one day. It just takes one. Don't need everyone to like you. Don't need everyone to date you. you only need that one person. And so for me, it was somebody that I never would have picked, never would have, wasn't even on my radar. He had noticed me, and again, that we go into that in our testimony. He had noticed me, but always thought, nah, there's no way. And so it actually had to come from me. God had to speak to me so deeply. And yes, it was super awkward in the beginning, like 2-3 days. I was like super uncomfortable around him. Didn't know how to act once we started like officially being boyfriend, girlfriend. But we knew it was just for a season, and we were going to get over it. And it's just been the most amazing, not even 2 months, like month and a half since we got together, got engaged. And it's like we've always been together. It's like getting to be with your best friend all the time, but you get to like snuggle them and, you know, have a romantic element as well, which is just so beautiful. And I'm like, it's the best relationship I've ever been in. It's the best, most safe, most intimate, like being fully known relationship too, because we were never trying to impress each other. Like that was never a thing that we were doing. I even accidentally farted in front of him, and I didn't care because I was like, it's just Nick, like, and he thought it was funny, and I thought it was funny. So, man, he's definitely did things that was not trying to impress me, and so we like got to know each other really well. It's almost like we courted. We were always with people. We were always around people, even if we weren't in a group. And so we just got to know each other in a really real way. And so now we get to say, hey, I choose you. Because I actually really know you, and I know the things that I don't like about you or the things that really bug me or you're super annoying. But I still choose you. And there's just such beauty and such power in that. And so, yeah, when God's on something, like there's just so much favor, but there's still wisdom in that. And so we know, like, hey, we're still tossing up with March, but we could book it. We could start planning in February. Like, we don't have to rush because sorry, that's my alarm to wake up because I was going to have a nap. We could start planning it in February because, it literally took us 3 days last time to book a whole thing. We even had a backdrop. We even had something like flowers and a backdrop to go behind us that we could like walk down the aisle and have a backdrop. Like, yeah, it was going to be cool. And so, when God's in something, he provides for it. It just hits you out of the side of the head, on the back of the head, and you're just like, where did that come from? But yeah, one moment, one day can change your life. And so you just don't know if today's that day. Tomorrow might be that day. But if you're looking and you are actually pursuing finding someone and being married, I just want to pray for you. Father, I just thank you for each person that's watching this, Lord. I thank you that you are speaking to them about the season of life that they're in, Lord. I thank you for the acceleration that is on the world right now, the Christian world right now, for finding partners. And Father, I pray for hope to rise up, Lord. I pray that you'll give them things, they're feeling hopeless, that will produce hope, that will spark hope, whether it's a vision board or something to put on their wall, something that they can look at every day and be reminded of your goodness. And I just pray for faith for this thing, faith for God fulfilling the desires of our hearts. You know what? There were moments, like I said, that I was feeling like hopeless, and God just filled me with supernatural faith because I asked for it. I was like, Lord, I just need you to give me faith for this because I don't really have any of my own right now. And I really believe the Lord is going to come through for you. And your story, like I always wanted a Holy Spirit amazing love story, and God is writing it. And yours is going to be like that too. It's going to be amazing. I pray it'll even be better. Like, you would just be so blown away by the goodness of God to bring you someone that you love so deeply, that you have such a firm foundation with, and who cares for you and actually values you, genuinely loves your heart, and is willing to do whatever it takes to serve you and care for you and lead you and provide for you and, be the man or woman of God that you need, and the same with you, that God is molding you and shaping you to be the kind of spouse that person needs and desires, and also just somebody that can love them unconditionally and love them, ahead of themselves. It's such a beautiful process. Just a little side note, I love this. I was working last night. I was super stressed. Yesterday, I was super stressed. Nick showed up at my door with roses to just love on me and hug me in the middle of his work day, came on lunch break to just care for me. And then that night I was again doing stuff with school, I was on a live, I was leading something, and I was really hungry, and before I know it, he's made me a full meal, and he comes and brings it so I can eat while I'm doing what I'm doing. I put the plate on the side while I continue. He takes it away and he cleans it for me. Like, just those little things of, hey, you know what, this is what God has for me. He's watching. Hey, honey. You know, that's the kind of love story that God has for all of us. And when he writes it, he doesn't get it wrong. And so, yeah, I just believe that faith is really going to rise up, and hope is going to rise up in this group. So if you receive that, feel free to comment below. I receive it because I really feel like, yeah, there's going to be new levels of expectation and new levels of hope that's going to be released in Jesus' name. Guys, I love this community. You know, I met Nick through this group, which is crazy, and I know that there's already couples coming through it. And so my heart's desire, my deepest desire, is for you guys to have stories like this, to have amazing God stories, and to help facilitate that, and however I can. And so please be bold, be brave, ask those questions, ask the Lord what you need to do. And oh honey, he's just, stop it. Nick's just being cute. Yeah, I really believe that the Lord is going to touch you. So have an awesome Saturday, guys. Enjoy your day. I love you all. Mwah.